Hi, before we get started, here are the products we'll be using today. We have a UV lamp, toothpicks, liquid Sculpey, white, black, and our primary colors, Easy Mold silicone putty. We have our charm essentials, clasps and eye pins, Sculpey, UV resin, acrylic blocks, and for the clay, we have yellow, orange, black, brown, and the doll color. All right, let's get into the video. Because I want all of the charms to be the same shape and size, I'll be sculpting one with some extra clay I have laying around, and we'll use this one to make the mold for the rest. So these are going to be cake pops with the shape of a Haagen-Dazs ice cream bar, something a little different than a normal round cake pop. And I have these acrylic blocks that are very helpful when you want to flatten out clay, and because they're transparent and have grids, you can see exactly what you're doing. So I went out to Michael's for some supplies and saw this Sculpey mold maker, which I've never seen before, and thought I'd give this one a try. It comes with 2 packs of mold and the instructions, and this one is interesting because you actually bake it in the oven, which I thought, well, this could be handy, you know, one or 2 less steps than the usual mold, and let's see how it goes. Yeah, hi. So we're not going to be using Sculpey Mold Maker. It was a big no for me. It claims to be bendable, and let me tell you, there was absolutely no bend. And even when I did try to bend it carefully, it cracked on me immediately. I will not be recommending this to anyone. Now, what I do recommend is Easy Mold silicone putty. This stuff is beautiful, very flexible, very bendable, and I've used this quite a bit. Now, I didn't record myself using this. I think I was just too flustered with the mold maker. So we're gonna go through it here together. Comes with 2 parts. We have a purple and a white. What you want to do is you want to grab equal parts of each and mix them all together until the white has completely disappeared. I believe you have a 3-minute working time, I think. I'm not sure. Somewhere here in the instructions. And that's about it. Then you roll it into a ball, flatten it out, however big you want it, and press your piece into it. Yeah, so Sculpey Mold Maker? No. Easy Mold silicone putty? Yes. All right, let's get back to the video. While the mold is doing its thing for the next 20 minutes or so, I'm going to start with the candy corn pops. I won't be using the mold for these because of the colors. I feel like it'll just be easier to sculpt these by hand so I don't ruin the coloring. I'm sure you could get it right with it. I just prefer to do it this way, I guess. Of course, I'm using the Sculpey clay. I've got the yellow, orange, and white, and I'm just going to stack them on top of each other and form our little bars out. I've got the rest of the clay colors here, which have been put through the pasta machine and are ready to go. We have chocolate for the ghosts, we have green for the Franken matcha, and an orange creamsicle. Starting off with the pumpkin pops, you're just going to grab a little bit of clay and push it down into your mold. You'll maybe need to do this a few times until you get the right amount of clay. And once you have one that you're happy with, what I would suggest is getting yourself a scale and weighing out more of the same sized balls to make life a little easier. As you can see here, there's some flexibility in the mold, and it's incredibly easy to pop it out without damaging the shape. And here are all of our molded cake pops, and before we set these into the oven, let's work on the popsicle sticks. I have some very thin wood here, and I'll be slicing these to be about 1 inch long, and we'll be trimming off the corners. Then using a sanding tool, I'll be shaping the ends to give it that perfect round popsicle stick look, and repeat times 30. Just a reminder that you don't need wood for the popsicle sticks. This is just my preference, and if you only have clay on hand, you can definitely use that for sculpting out your sticks. So here I'm just gently pushing the wood into the clay and trying not to disrupt its overall shape. Now that all of those are done, it's time to add in the eye pins, and I'll be cutting these down since they're fairly long, and just as we did with the popsicle sticks, you'll gently push the pin through the top trying to keep it level so that you don't push it through any of the sides. You'll see here that some dust particles are stuck to the clay, but we'll get rid of that fairly soon. For now, let's pop these in the oven at 275 for around 25 minutes. And please remember to keep an eye on the oven. I've baked wood pieces in clay on top of paper many times with no issue, but I definitely keep an eye out the entire time, just for safety purposes. All right, our charms are out of the oven, and now we're going to get rid of these dust particles and fingerprints using acetone. Using a cotton pad, we're going to wipe away any of those pesky dust particles. You may notice that the color can turn a bit cloudy, like you see here, but that's okay. We're going to fix that. To get rid of the cloudiness, we'll need to buff this out, and I'll be using a rag and vigorously rubbing it until the color comes back. And as you can see, she's basically good as new. Also, a little tidbit, you don't need to bake them before using acetone or alcohol to wipe the dust away. You can do it beforehand using a light touch and a Q-tip. But honestly, my hands were getting tired of holding these tiny pieces so gently, which is why I decided to deal with it after they were baked. But normally I would just do it before baking them. Now, these are charms, and I assume most people will want to carry or wear their charms. I personally like to have mine attached to my phone, iPad, and even my purse. So for added security, we're going to now remove all of the eye pins and sticks and add a tiny bit of super glue into each one. Now that all of that is done, let's move on to my favorite part, which is going to be their faces, all of the little details. I am so excited. Using some black liquid Sculpey, I'll be painting on Frankenstein's hair. I want this to look like it's dripped icing, so I like to have quite a bit of the liquid Sculpey right at the tip of the brush so that it gives it that full pulled drip effect. And by the way, these brushes are actually nail art brushes, and they're perfect for painting on tiny little details like this. These are the only brushes I ever take care of. I make sure to clean them properly after every use so that they last me a very long time. Of course, we cannot forget Frankenstein's iconic stitching, and I'll be using an even thinner brush for these lines, making sure not to add too much liquid clay onto the brush. With some white liquid Sculpey, I'm going to use a toothpick and dot on his eyeballs and do the same for his pupils. Now, I'm going to give Franken Matcha here some pink cheeks, because why not? It's cute. I've mixed some red and white liquid Sculpey for a light pink shade, and with a toothpick, we're going to dot those cheeks on. We're going to set these to bake for a second time at 275 for around 12 minutes, and then we'll go ahead and work on the backs of them. Using these same techniques, I'll be painting the back of the hair and a few stitches. Because these are charms, I wanted to look cute on all angles, not just their faces. And lastly, to finish off our Franken Matcha, he wouldn't be Frankenstein without the electrodes on the side of his head. So for this, I have some clear jewelry beads that I thought would be perfect, and I'll be securing them on with some resin. Now that we're done with Frankenstein, we're going to move on to the pumpkin charms. Starting off with some rolled out green clay, I'll be cutting out some leaf shapes with my blade, and using liquid Sculpey to act as a glue, I'll place the leaf on top and use a blade and a pointy tool to sculpt out the details. I've also rolled out some thin clay so that I can add a curvy pumpkin vine to the leaf, which I think looks really pretty. I'm just going to slice off the end here and have it come to a point. We then have the stem of the pumpkin, which I'll just be using some brown clay and a ballpoint pen to give it some of the ridged details. Using some black liquid Sculpey and our nail art brush again, we're going to paint on its eyes and mouth. For the eyes, I'm painting 2 straight lines first instead of going straight into a triangle shape, because I find that this will give you a better guide when it comes to spacing. I slowly work my way out instead of outlining and coloring in, if that makes sense. And just as we did with Frankenstein, we're going to bake these for a second time before working on the backs of them. I find that adding this one leaf back here, it already looks so much nicer rather than just seeing a plain orange flat surface. I really don't like to neglect any angles. You can't see the color very well on camera, but I decided I wanted to give the eyes a little pop of yellow and shade in the leaves for a little extra interest and dimension. For the leaves, I'm just using chalk pastels, a darker shade of green. All right, let's put those aside. And now for my favorite of the bunch, my favorite design, we're gonna do the little ghosty pops. Using some white liquid Sculpey clay, I'll be using the same technique we did with Frankenstein's hair. We're going to make it so that the ghosts look like they're draped over the chocolate cake pop. Now, liquid Sculpey will level out a bit on its own, but you do need to manipulate it yourself so that there aren't any overly thick bumps. As you can see, I'm just going over some spots here where I can tell are a bit thinner than the rest and just adding a little bit more of the clay and to really try to even it out as much as I can. All right, that's looking pretty good to me. I'm gonna finish off the rest, put these to bake so then we can work on their faces. Using the liquid Sculpey again, I'm gonna dot on the eyes, the mouth, and the pink cheeks, and I'll also be painting the backs of these white. All right, on to the candy corns. We have our eyes, our cheeks, pupils, and a cutie little smile, all done with, of course, liquid Sculpey. And I will be painting eyeliner on this design. Now, I tried to do it whilst filming, but I needed full precision here. So I just couldn't do it. I ended up doing it off camera. I'm so sorry. But you can see parts of the little wing here. Now I have some Halloween themed sprinkles and candy here that I made. We'll see what works best. I made the sprinkles by rolling out some thin clay rope, baking, and then slicing them. These charms will be coated in resin for extra durability, and I also love the shine of resin. So instead of gluing the sprinkles on one by one, we're going to coat the candy corns in resin and place the sprinkles that way. Also, before we get into the resin portion of this video, remember that when working with resin, you want to be in a well-ventilated area, preferably with a window open. using latex gloves and a mask as the resin fumes are toxic. Now, when painting on resin, I like to use one dedicated brush that I will clean thoroughly after every use. I like to start off with a thinner layer of resin and wait a few seconds so that the resin will level, and place it immediately under a UV lamp. I'll continue this process for each one. In total, I end up coating each charm around 3 times and making sure to pop any bubbles that may form and getting into the groove so that the resin isn't pooled in any specific area. So here they are under a UV lamp. This one is called Sun UV. I just found it on Amazon Canada. I'm sure any UV lamp will do though. As I paint each one, I'm just constantly putting them back in the lamp and grabbing the next painting and doing that over and over and over again until I pass away. All right, these babies have been cooking for quite a while, so it's time to put on their little hooks. I don't know what these things are called. What are they? I don't even, you know, sometimes I don't even know how I buy supplies because the names escape me constantly. Oh, I looked it up. They're actually called clasp cords. So yeah, we're gonna put these on now. Now, I like to do an added step. Nothing is stronger than the power of our sun, okay? So I'm gonna hang these on a wooden rod and set them outside for a couple of hours. Listen, you don't need to do this, but I'm obsessive and I need to do it. They are going to cook until they are perfection. Are you still here? Thank you for being here. I just thought I would show you what these charms look like. I love having cutesy little charms hanging off my phone or my purse. And I made myself one because I love ghosties. And look, first of all, I have a little ghosty case and they're holding books because I also love to read. And that is so freaking cute. And then I have my little ghosty pop here. Look at that. It's adorable. Oh, I love it. Oh, sorry. Look at this little ghosty pop. I think it's so cute to have him hanging there. Oh, that's my little baby. That's Mrs. Doubtfire. She is no longer with us. She was 18 years old. R.I.P. She passed away last year. Oh. And let's look at the other ones. Oh, do you guys like ASMR? Or is that cringe? I love ASMR. I'll watch ASMR videos to sleep. That's the sound of cutie little Halloween pops. Okay. I'm done with that. I'm sorry. You have the little pumpkins. You're so cute. And of course, their backs are also decorated. And we have the Franken matcha. Adorable. What else did we have here? Oh, our little candy corns. And last but not least, the Ouija one. So this one kind of reminds me of the McDonald's mascot, Birdie. I think she was Early Birdie. I don't know. The yellow one. And she's still cute. The eyeliner is very difficult to get right. Basically, when I'm putting on the eyeliner, I stop breathing. All right. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. I hope this was helpful. And if it was, or if you enjoyed it, please consider leaving a like and comment below which of these charms was your favorite. And with that, I will see you next time. By the way, this is my cat, London Fog, and she's so stinking cute. I will take any opportunity to play with her.